Hi, my name is Dana Beck. Welcome to my YouTube video. And today, what I'd like to talk about is, as the title up here says, life is what you make it. Life is what you make it. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of very, very successful men and women out there who came from very humble beginnings. And in some cases, came from very, very difficult uh, upbringing and a very difficult and very challenging home life. And I want to talk about that a little bit and how it pertains to those of you that want to be an entrepreneur, those of you that may be building a business online, and perhaps you're facing challenges and obstacles. Well, I'd like to share the background of three individuals that had, again, they faced challenges, they faced obstacles, yet in spite of that, they went on to become enormously successful. Well, the first profile that I'd like to look at is a woman by the name of Tillie Lewis. Tillie Lewis. Now, maybe you've never heard of her, but Tillie Lewis in 1935, actually on July 13, 1935, she did what was told to her as being impossible. She opened up for the very first time a cannery in Stockton, California, growing and cooking and selling Italian tomatoes grown in the U.S. Now, prior to that, she was told by agricultural specialists at the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens that to grow Italian tomatoes in the U.S. was physically impossible. It's never been done. There's no way you can do it. But yet she was determined. She made up her mind that she was going to figure out how to do it. Well, sure enough, in 1935, she opened up her very first canning company, and she, growing and canning for the very first time Italian tomatoes grown here in the U.S., grown right there in California. And she proved what she knew all along because she was convinced in her mind that she could accomplish this. And so by 1951, according to her biographer, in 1951, the company she started had earned over $30 million a year, was earning $30 million a year, and that was in 1951. And then her company went on to become Chile Luis Foods Incorporated, and by the 70s, she was earning well over $40 to $50 million a year. And it's solely because she was convinced in her mind what she could do, and she didn't allow anything to stop her, regardless of what the agriculturalists told her, regardless also at that period of time in 1935, it was very, very difficult for a woman to go into business. So it was very difficult for her to raise the capital, raise the funding to be able to opening up her own canning business. But yet she did it, and again, by the early 50s, she was earning over $30 million a year with her business. She did not give up. She stuck it out and carried out her conviction, what she saw in her mind and what she believed could accomplish. Well, there's another individual I'd like to talk about, I'd like to share a little bit of background on. Maybe some of you have seen the movie The Pursuit of Happiness, starring Will Smith, talking about the background of Chris Gardner. Well, Chris Garner was another individual who was physically abused by his stepfather, and he was placed in a foster home when he was very, very young. And and when he became older and he got married, life didn't get any easier. Matter of fact, it got tougher for him. He ended up becoming homeless. He ended up um, trying to support his young son, and he lived on the streets or wherever he could live. But he was introduced to a gentleman who worked as a stockbroker for a very, very famous brokerage house there in California. And when he found out about it, he applied for a job at his brokerage house as an intern. And that simply means that he would learn the business, but he would earn zero money. He earned no money while he was doing that. But yet he so wanted success so badly, despite his current situation and current circumstances. And during this time, while trying to raise his son. He lived in shelters. He lived wherever he could. And there was even a record, which is a true story, where there were times where he even had to sleep with his son in the restrooms in bus stations just so he had a roof over his head. And he did all this. Well, he ended up getting hired by this brokerage house, and he went on to be enormously successful, and so successful that he formed his own stock brokerage firm, Garner, Rich and Company, and he became the CEO of that company. And so again, here's another individual who came from a very, very difficult background, an abusive family life, and who was homeless, but yet he went on because he had a dream, he had a vision, he had something that he wanted to do, that he could accomplish, and he never stopped trying, and he was rewarded, enormously for his perseverance and for keeping that vision in his mind, very clear, and he pursued it and he worked towards it, and again, he became enormously successful. Well, here's another individual that maybe you've heard of, Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins was another individual. He grew up in North Hollywood, and he was the oldest of three siblings. And his mother was addicted to drugs and alcohol and was physically abusive. And there was one point in time where his mother threw him out of the house at night point, and he did whatever he could to help, and he learned how to help and support his brother and his sister, and he did, he protected them from his mother. He came from a very, very challenging, very difficult. Um, my little pea brain can't even imagine what he went through, but he came from a very, very harsh, very difficult upbringing. But you know what? At 17 years old, Tony Robbins, he worked as a janitor after school, and he also helped people move on the weekends. And it was during one of these moves where he was introduced to somebody named Jim Rohn. And, he was told about this, and there was a seminar coming up, and he really wanted to be at that seminar, really wanted to be at that presentation. But it required, money that he didn't have. So he took a week's salary just to go to this event where he learned about Jim Rohn, and then that changed it for him. And then he followed his dream, his goal, and he applied the principles that he learned at that Jim Rohn, seminar. And he went on to be, we all know who Tony Robbins is. He went on to be enormously successful despite his humble beginnings, despite his negative, really dark upbringing when he was younger. But yet he overcame all that because he had a vision. He had a dream. He had something he pursued, and he never gave up. And most people know who Tony Robbins is, and he became enormously successful. So, in thinking about these individuals, um, so life is what you make it. Life is what you make it. You are where you are because of the decisions that that you have made. And just because maybe you did grow up in a negative environment, maybe you had challenges when you were younger, but that does not define who you are. That does not stop you from achieving the greatness and the success that you want. And if you've got that image in your mind, if you've got that goal, if you've got that vision, doesn't matter where you came from. That your past does not define you. You know, keeping that goal, that vision clearly in your mind and pursuing it. If you stay at it and you don't give up, you can be successful. And I shared with you just three individuals: Tillie Lewis, Chris Gardner, and Tony Robbins, who all came from very, very challenging backgrounds, but yet went on to be enormously successful. And you know what? You can too. You can be successful as well. And I hope, this inspires you. I hope, this story of these individuals encourages you. Don't ever give up, but to move forward, to go forward with your dream, whatever it is. And it's not impossible because life is what you make it. So, if you got value out of this video, please leave a comment. I really do enjoy reading your comments. And again, if you enjoyed watching this video, please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There'll be a button that looks something sort of like this down here in the bottom right hand corner. go ahead, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would appreciate it very much. Please leave a comment. Again, I really enjoy reading your comments and I respond to all of them. Thank you so very, very much. And remember, life truly is what you make it. Have a fabulous day. Thank you so much for watching, and you take care now. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.